From the 1011 Now streaming studio in Lincoln, Nebraska, this is the REPORT Husker Show, sponsored by Fat Dog's Convenience Store.
Good evening, everyone. Jessica Blum here in the 1011 streaming studio, along with 1011 sports director Kevin Suits here tonight, joining us in Beaver Stadium. Kevin, an upsetting loss, 37-10, Nebraska's largest loss of the season. Can you tell us what you heard from post-game press conference with Matt Rule and some of the players here tonight?
It's a late game that they didn't think they were going to be playing in prime time here at Penn State. And they've got a short week for Iowa. And usually Nebraska practices on Sunday. They're going to change up their schedule. They only have 6 days to get ready for the Hawkeyes and the Heroes game. It's a rivalry game, a big game. Maybe now even bigger, Jessica, as Nebraska tries to erase what happened here tonight. 37-10, the final score. Penn State pretty much controls this game from the second that Nebraska was stuffed on the 2-yard line on their opening possession. Once Penn State scored, they had all the momentum and they didn't give it up. Nebraska loses by 27. I think some fans might be pretty shocked at that, but keep in mind this Penn State team started the year ranked number 3 nationally. They have some players and they played really well. They played inspired and they controlled the line of scrimmage.
They certainly had a really rough Big Ten schedule, too, playing Oregon, taking them to two overtimes, Indiana, Ohio State. So I don't think their record really spoke to the strength of this team. And really, this game had me questioning who was 7-3 and who was 4-6. So it was an impressive outing by Penn State. Their running backs and the duo tonight really both getting a pair of touchdowns, and Katron Allen surpassing the all-time leader in what was Evan Royster. And so a really big game for him. Nebraska seems to get a lot of those record-breaking teams, and a lot of those record-breaking plays seem to happen against them, unfortunately.
Yeah, and Katron Allen, I don't know if it was in the script for Penn State to give him the ball 25 times, but as his rushing total continued to increase, I think that the play calling was encouraged by the fans, because everybody here seemed to know where he stood and how many yards he needed. First to move into second place, and then once he got that, to move in to number 1 all time. He moved past Saquon Barkley, I believe, in the second quarter. So, there was already some momentum toward him climbing up the record books. And Allen, a senior, gets the record on senior night, and Penn State fans really had to enjoy this game. And I don't mean to make this Penn State focused, but there's not a whole lot to say about Nebraska. Once they fell behind, they lost some confidence. TJ Lateef had to run for his life a few times. The offense never had a dominating, well-oiled machine kind of drive. In fact, as I just mentioned on our 10 o'clock newscast, Jessica, Nebraska had 5 possessions in the first half, only 3 points total. And 2 of those drives reached the red zone and it resulted in a field goal. So there were just some issues with Nebraska's offense and then trying to capitalize. And I really think a lot of it goes down to that situation where they had 4th and 1 from the 2 on the opening possession. They gave the ball to Emmett Johnson. He was stuffed. And then about 5 minutes later, Penn State's in the end zone with a 7-0 lead.
It does seem like other games this year went that way too, with a strong first drive, and there was a decision to be made whether to go for it or not on 4th down, and it doesn't seem like past games were really learned from, or they just felt strongly still here tonight in Happy Valley to make that statement early. I know I was looking back at some stats too, and that first touchdown for Nebraska didn't come until 14 minutes into the third quarter, and even late in the third, when I was looking at rushing attempts for TJ Lateef, he had 5 yards on 6 attempts. So he wasn't getting it done on the ground game, or there wasn't space, opened up for him. But Emmett Johnson did have a nice game, getting up to 103 yards, kind of a stat padding game for him. But all the players in the post-game press conferences, what I took away was that they just want to move on, and it's a short week ahead of Iowa.
Yeah, and move on indeed. I mentioned that they wanted to get out of here. Matt Rule maybe talked to the team for a total of 2 minutes after the game. I'm not kidding you, because he was at the press conference so quickly after exiting the field. It's like he barely he might have said, just pack your stuff. Let's just talk on the plane. Let's get out of here. And some of the other coaches and we're encouraging the players just get out of the locker room. The accommodations for visiting teams here at Penn State, it's not very accommodating. It's kind of a rough setup. In fact, some of the players were getting treatment before the game, not even in an open area. If you're just a ticket holder and you're walking through the concourse, you're watching Rocco Spindler have a trainer work on his leg. You know, it's just kind of a weird situation. One of the other points I wanted to bring up, Emmett Johnson rushes for more than 100 yards. And back to your comment about like the opening drive and Nebraska going for it on 4th down. I don't know that it's fair to compare what happened against Michigan to Penn State. There are different scenarios. One's at home against the ranked team. This is on the road against the team that
good point
is playing on senior day and with an interim head coach. But I will reiterate what Dane Key told me, because I asked him about that during the interviews today. Like, were you surprised that you guys went for it on 4th and 1 at the 2 on the opening possession? He said, absolutely not. And the reason he wasn't surprised by that play calling decision is because the coaching staff told them today, all week long, that they were going to be aggressive. And that's an aggressive call. And plus, if you have a Heisman candidate running back, you think you can get 1 yard. But they learned really quickly that Penn State's defensive front is pretty good. And the defensive front and the offensive front for Penn State really, I think, were two of the biggest factors in this game. Not to mention, Penn State didn't turn the football over. Penn State was able to throw the football, and they had chunk plays. Keep in mind, Nebraska's pass defense entering this game ranked in the top 10 nationally. Well, Ethan Grunkmeyer, who is not their regularly starting quarterback, he's actually quarterback 2, but he replaced Drew Aller when he went out with an injury. Grunkmeyer today completes 11 of 12 passes for 181 yards and a touchdown. That's a pretty good stat line. That's a very good stat line when you consider that Nebraska's pass defense ranks where it does.
Yes, exactly, Kevin. Well, we appreciate your time tonight. Kind of a sad outcome for Husker fans in Happy Valley, but have safe travels on your way back to Nebraska.
All right. Thank you very much, Jessica. Have a great night.
You too. Nebraska's final game on Black Friday against Iowa will kick off at 11 a.m. Be sure to tune in to our hour-long pregame show that'll happen at 10 a.m. that morning. That'll do it for our REPORT Husker Show tonight. Of course, the REPORT is your home for Husker highlights and headlines. We'll see you next time.
You've been listening to the REPORT Husker Show, sponsored by Fat Dog's Convenience Store. Watch, listen, and stream on the 1011 Now app, on YouTube, or wherever you get your podcasts. For more Husker coverage throughout the week, watch the REPORT on 1011 Sports at 6 and 10 p.m. and download the 1011 Now app.